Jeremiah chapter 1. The perverted state of the church. Of the Lord, who is here meant by Jeremiah. He will be born in order that he may teach all men divine truth. From his divine he will teach the truths and goods of the church, and will destroy falsities and evils. Truths of every good have been given them through the word, but they have perverted them, which is the source of all kinds of falsities that are contrary to the truths of the church. And from this arises a contrary worship. The Lord will admit them to fight against him, and they will succumb, because the divine is the Lord's. Jeremiah chapter 2. The church established among the ancients. Its primitive state, when it was defended from falsities and evils. For no reason, they departed from him who had led and protected them, and had taught them all things of the church, which they nevertheless perverted, both its truths and its goods, by departing from the Lord. Still he will teach them with difficulty. No nation has changed its religion as they have done. It is horrible. They are rejecting the Lord, and they are hatching falsities of doctrine for themselves. Consequently, the church and its doctrine have been devastated by falsities out of the natural man. This has taken place because they have rejected the Lord, by means of knowledges and reasonings. They draw punishments upon themselves, because they have separated themselves from the Lord and have worshipped things infernal. And even though genuine truths have been given to them, yet they have become such. Howsoever they may worship in like ways in externals, yet interiorly they are infernal. They desire eagerly to be in falsities and evils, and shun truths and goods. Evils and falsities are their worship. This is true of all of them. They are not willing to return, even when chastised. Nevertheless, they have not been forsaken by the Lord, but they have forsaken him. They fight to confirm falsities and evils by falsifications of the word. And they have confirmed them by reasonings from the natural man, and yet confirmations are of no avail. Jeremiah chapter 3. The spiritual church, or the truths of the church. They have departed and falsified truths. They are unwilling to understand truths. They have merely acknowledged the word outwardly in the letter, and not even with the word in mind, but with falsities. The church, in respect to truths, has falsified truths, and has not been willing to be reformed. The celestial church, that is, the church in respect to good, has done likewise. As the spiritual church has falsified truths, so the celestial church has adulterated goods. They worship falsities of evil and have perverted goods more than truths. Exhortation to reject falsity and to receive truth, that there may be conjunction and a church, and that there may be then knowledge. When the Lord comes, there will no longer be the representative of a church, but a church wherein the Lord himself will be in place of that representative. Then truth and good will make one. Those who will draw near shall be adopted as children by the Lord. But the church has become perverted. Those who will be of the new church will acknowledge and confess that they have falsities and evils. Jeremiah chapter 4. Exhortation to refrain from evils, and to acknowledge the Lord, from whom those are, in goods and truths, will have salvation. Unless they refrain and turn back, they will utterly perish. Those who will acknowledge must be removed while the destruction lasts, because devastation of all things of the church is at hand, which does not come to an end through outward mourning, nor through complaints that they are perishing, although it is said in the word that they shall be saved. It is answered that they are not willing to acknowledge and receive. Falsities are breaking in, corruption of the church in respect to doctrine, in respect to the word, lamentation thereat. There is no longer any understanding of truth. All things of the church have been destroyed, even until nothing remains, and the church has become none. The things of the church could not have been restored among them in any way. Despair of those of whom the new church will consist. Jeremiah chapter 5. There is no truth in doctrine or in the church, and if they believe, it is falsity. They were urged by punishments, but still they did not receive. This non-reception is due not to simplicity, but to the application and industry. Therefore all falsities and evils of falsity have broken in upon them. They have rejected all mercy, because they have perverted all truths and goods, which they had in all abundance. Therefore they cannot but perish, for they have acknowledged evils and falsities as goods and truths, because they have departed from the Lord, and have annihilated the word. Therefore infernal evil will invade them, and will still further destroy all the goods and truths of the church, but not quite as yet. This comes upon them because they have forsaken the Lord, and yet it is in their power to know that the Lord alone can do all things, but they are unwilling to know that he is God, from whom are all truths and goods. This has come to pass because it is delightful to them to pervert and deceive. And for this reason they are held in esteem. They cannot but perish, because all goods and truths, from firsts to lasts, have been perverted in such wise, also because all of them, from the highest to the lowest, do thus. Jeremiah chapter 6. Those who have conjunction with the Lord in the lowest heaven, these are meant by the children of Benjamin. The church among them is destroyed by falsities of evil. They no longer have truth and good, but falsity and evil, and these destroy them. By means of these the church amongst them is destroyed. There are still some truths, let them beware lest they destroy them. But they hearken not. Therefore all things are being destroyed. Thus others are being received in their stead, because everything there has been so perverted that there is no protection against falsity, which they do not acknowledge to be falsities, and they repudiate truths. Therefore they will come to an end. Hence they regard the works of their worship as of no value. Destruction comes upon them through falsities, from which they reason against the truths of the church. Those who are separated and grieve over them. The perverse are tested and found incapable of restoration. Jeremiah chapter 7. Those who are in the lowest heaven, with whom is the church in respect to good. To such, let them look to truths and goods, let them not believe that the church is with them, unless they live according to the commandments and do no violence to the word. Goods and truths do not cause them to be a church. If the life is contrary to the commandments, there is no church worship. The church of the Lord is not with those who profane holy things. By such profanation the destruction of the church is brought about, as elsewhere, so also here. Intercession is of no avail, because it is certain that they profane the truths and goods of heaven. Hence is the destruction of all. They rely on externals of worship, which are of no account, because they have no internals of worship. They have obstinately rejected internals even from the beginning. Since their reformation is vain, everything of their worship is rejected, because they profane all things of the church. They will be cast into hell, where there is nothing but evil and falsity. Thus, that church will perish. Jeremiah chapter 8. The profaners of truth will be cast into hell, and abide in their profanities, and all their remains will likewise perish. They are such that they cannot be converted and led back. They are not willing to know any truth from the word, but reject it. Therefore the things they have will be given to others. They defend their falsities and call them truths of the church. They do not want it to be otherwise. Therefore, because they no longer have truth or good, they will perish. They have recourse to the word, but in vain. Then fallacies of the sensual man and reasonings therefrom will destroy them and infect them with poison. Reciprocal grief and lamentation, that the time is so long drawn out before a new church consisting of others can be established. Jeremiah chapter 9. In the church is nothing but what is falsified and evil therefrom, because they depart from the Lord. One falsity comes from another, even until there is nothing but falsity in which they are. When they are being taught, they feign that they wish it, but they do not. Must they not perish? Grief because of the destruction of all things of the church, even until nothing remains. Because they have repudiated the word, and have obeyed their own lusts, they are in falsities of evil, and therefore they will be destroyed by evils and falsities therefrom. Lamentation over devastation. Lamentation that from this there is destruction, because they have infernal evil and falsity. Let it be known that everything of truth and good, and hence everything of power and wisdom, is from acknowledgment of the Lord. The coming of the Lord to judgment upon all who are in externals without internals. Jeremiah chapter 10. Let not those be feared who wish to prevail by their own intelligence, and by means of artifices. It is described how they make evil to appear like good, and make themselves appear powerful, whereas the Lord alone has power. To do this they abuse the word, but the Lord alone reigns, and those who do not acknowledge him vanish. All truth is from the Lord. Self-intelligence amounts to nothing at all. It will perish. It is otherwise with the church that trusts in the Lord. The preparation of these during the destruction of the former. Grief because of the backsliding of the church from the Lord and its vastation. Their end. Prayer to the Lord that they may not perish together with the evil. Jeremiah chapter 11. Let them do the commandments and acknowledge the Lord. This is meant by the covenant. It was with them when they were reformed. Every good and truth of the church is theirs by means of it. This they were often told, but they did not obey. But all did the contrary, and acknowledged another God. Therefore there is no help for them, because they all love falsities and worship other gods. Intercession will not avail. They have profaned the church and its good and truth. This was made manifest by their delivering the Lord up to death. Therefore retribution awaits them. They do not wish to hear about the Lord. They will perish by means of falsities on the day of judgment. Jeremiah chapter 12. The church that expects the Lord asks why the wicked flourish. Oh, that he would come, and that the evil might be removed. Because there are no longer truths and goods with them. They have self-intelligence, and they wish to know nothing more. The church where the word is turns against the Lord, and has embraced falsities, whence she has been utterly desolated and vastated. Goods are turned into evils, therefore they are to be expelled, and others, of whom the church is to be formed, are to be accepted in their place. As long as they acknowledge the Lord, they will remain. Jeremiah chapter 13. That the truth of the church would gradually perish by means of reasonings from the natural man was represented by the girdle of linen. The like has come to pass with the church where the word is, where they have backslidden from the Lord and consequently from truths. And afterwards there were falsities for truths and consequent destruction. Let them beware lest mere falsity take the place of truth. Grief on this account. It may be seen that all truth of the word perishes. Falsities take the place of truth. Hence destruction is at hand. The cause of this is that they are interiorly evil, and hence become also outwardly evil. It cannot be otherwise. Therefore destruction visits them, because they have forsaken the Lord, and hence they have falsities, and in consequence their interiors, which are evil, will be laid open. Jeremiah chapter 14. Truth is wholly lacking in the church. He that seeks does not find it. Prayer to the Lord to have pity. Answer is made that they have backslidden. Therefore no attention is given either to their prayer or to their worship. They are flattered into believing that there is no lack and no desolation of truth. This is from their doctrine of falsity, which will perish, and together with it those who live according to it. Grief that there is no truth either in the church or in doctrine. Complaint thereat. Prayer for them. Chapter 15. Answer is made that no intercession for them can be of any avail. They will be cast into hell, where are falsities and evils of every kind. They are to be driven out from the church, because they have backslidden. They have no truth. Because there is no truth, there is falsity. The church with them has come to an end. At the time of the judgment they will be destroyed. Having been destroyed by falsities from the natural man, they have no truths from the word. These will be taken away from them. The Lord and his combats from divine truth, his grief over their falsities, his victory over them. Jeremiah chapter 16. There is no conjunction of the Lord with that church, because no truths and goods are there. They cannot but be cast into hell. No compassion can be shown, because no good and truth can be received by them. All conjunction with the Lord has perished with them. This comes of their having departed from worshipping the Lord. Hence their worship is not worship of God. Therefore everyone wishes to be wise from himself. Consequently, they must be in hell. Others are to be brought to the church by the Lord, both those who are natural and those who are rational. Retribution will visit those who have previously profaned the church. Those of whom the church will consist will acknowledge the Lord. Jeremiah chapter 17. It is in their internals to worship only externals. All true knowledges will be taken away, but not yet. They will come into hell. Because they trust in themselves, they perceive nothing of truth and good. On the other hand, those who trust in the Lord always have good and truth. The Lord knows what lies hidden interiorly, howsoever the external may appear. The truths which they learn are of no use to them, because the Lord is heaven and the church. Those who depart from him are damned. Prayer to the Lord, and acknowledgement that the evil may be removed. The Lord to those who are in externals, that they ought to acknowledge his divine, which is meant by the Sabbath, and not violated. Then they will possess an understanding of the word, and then their worship will be from truths. If they will not acknowledge, the externals will perish from internals. Jeremiah chapter 18. It is represented that those who are in falsities and evils can be reformed by the Lord. Therefore those who are converted after repentance are accepted by the Lord, although they are in falsities and evils. On the other hand, those who are in truths and in good, and do evil, perish. Those who are in the church are told to repent and be converted, but they will not, because they love falsities of every kind, and thereby annihilate the church with themselves. Therefore they will be destroyed. They exalt themselves against the Lord, and consequently against his word, despising him and falsifying it. Lamentation over this. They have no truth of the church, and they act craftily. They cannot be forgiven. Chapter 19. The church has been instituted, but they have destroyed its truths by dire falsities, and therefore the church has perished. They have forsaken the Lord, and have loved evils that gush forth from the love of self. Therefore the church is no longer there, but hell. There they will be among profaners, where there is deadly hatred for one another. It is represented that the church there has been destroyed, so that it cannot be restored. Hell is actually there, because there is nothing but the lust of the love of self. This was foretold to them through the word. Jeremiah chapter 20. They blaspheme the word. They will come among those who blaspheme and adulterate the word. They will disperse all the truths and goods of the word, and will thus perish with these. Lamentation over the blasphemies against the Lord and against the word, and the Lord's confidence during combats that the word is being protected. Despair that the word is so treated. Jeremiah chapter 21. The hell of blasphemers of the Lord and of profaners of the word was present. The Lord cannot turn this away because they ally it to themselves. Everything that they have is such, and they all will perish. Those who study the word are worse off, because they study it from something profane that is within. There is no good in truth. Their heart is stubborn, hence their destruction. Jeremiah chapter 22. To those in the church who possess a knowledge of things, if they do according to the truths of the word, and the knowledge they possess, and do not pervert these, they will have intelligence. Otherwise, all of their intelligence will perish, and everything pertaining to their knowledge, because they have separated themselves from the Lord. There is no restitution. The church no longer consists of such, because they have made a religion for themselves by reasonings from falsities. Those who were before them in the church were not of such a character, but they perverted the church by falsities of every kind. There can be no pity, but they must be cast out as profane. They are unwilling to give heed to the word, because they have been imbued with falsities of religion. They can have no protection through the word, howsoever they acknowledge it with their lips. They will come among those who profane the word, and by means of it make for themselves a religion that is contrary to the truths of the church, from which religion they cannot recede. They have not a truth which has not been perverted and profaned. Jeremiah chapter 23. Against those who have perverted the good of the word, and by means of it have destroyed the church, who are meant by the shepherds. They will perish, and the Lord will establish a church from others who will teach and learn its good. The Lord will do this, and then those who are of his church will be saved. Then they will acknowledge that the Lord is Jehovah, and that the church is his. Against those who pervert the truths of the word, who are meant by the prophets. From their perversion the church is full of falsities, and is perverted. And there is no longer truth or good, excepting such as is external. Because they do not see truths, they perish on the day of judgment. Truths are perverted by false principles which are of religion. But the word is perverted. This is the worst. They will possess nothing but falsity, which they also confirm from the word, saying that it is divine. They will perish on the day of judgment. They learn from themselves and not from the Lord. If they learned from the Lord, they would depart from evils. Thus the Lord would be with them. They pervert by means of false interpretation. Hence they have no understanding of truth, because they have none from the Lord, who also is the Word, in which truth from him makes itself manifest. Those who call themselves enlightened pervert truth still more, whereas they are not enlightened. The divine truth shows that they have gone back. He who says otherwise will suffer. Moreover, they will not know what divine truth is. And because they call that which is false divine truth, the truth of the church will be removed from them. Hence their destruction. Jeremiah chapter 24. After that the whole church had adulterated and profaned the word, it was represented that part of them were of such a character that they could be reformed, but part could not. These are meant by the 2 baskets of figs, in one of which were good ones, and in the other bad ones. Those who could be reformed were those who had been completely vastated, so that they did not know what is true and what is good. These can at least be taught, can acknowledge the Lord, can be received, and can become a church. But those who could not be reformed were those who desired still to be in worship from the word, which worship they would then continually profane. With these everything holy would be profaned, and they would perish. Chapter 25. The Lord to those with whom the church has been instituted. He taught them continually by the word, that they should refrain from evils, and not go away to any other worship than that of the Lord, but they did not obey. Therefore everything of the church among them will perish, and they will be in temptations from those who profane things holy. Retribution will afterwards visit the tempters. It will so come to pass. Knowledges of truth and good, and also truths of every kind and sort, will perish. This cannot otherwise than come to pass even with those who are in knowledges from the word. There is no longer any truth that has not been profaned. Lamentation by those who are in good and in truths therefrom. Jeremiah chapter 26. Exhortation by the Lord to repent and live according to his commandments in the word. Otherwise the church with them will be destroyed. Evil and falsity of religion condemned him to death, but because he spoke from the divine, the truths of the church acquitted him. An instance of their not condemning to death one who spoke from inspiration, excepting one who spoke falsely. The Lord was not condemned on account of the people. Jeremiah chapter 27. Since there is an end to the church, and to all things of it, they ought no longer to be there, lest they should profane it. Wherefore they were carried off to Babylon, where they could not profane its holy things, and those who would not go were profaners, and will perish. Those who teach anything else teach falsities. All with whom the church has been instituted will depart, or otherwise they would profane it, and will perish. Let them not believe anything else. Nothing of things holy, not even of its externals, will remain because it has been profaned. The church will be constituted of others after it has been delivered from the profane. This was because the land of Canaan, and all things therein, represented the church, and as these are mentioned by name in the word, those who profaned holy things could not be tolerated there. Jeremiah chapter 28. They understood the word in a contrary sense, and from this they persuaded themselves that the profanities of their religion were the holy things of the church, and consequently they were not to be carried away from the land, but they were told that they had persuaded themselves of falsities. Jeremiah chapter 29. Those in spiritual captivity are told that they should study truths and do goods and continue in them, and not become imbued with falsities, since, when their spiritual captivity ceases, a new church will be instituted of those who are of such a character, and who acknowledge the Lord. Those who were formerly of the church will profane the holy things of the church, and will therefore perish. Those who have falsely interpreted the word are condemned. Those who persuasively established falsities will abide in falsities and will not perceive truth. Chapter 30. Establishment of the church with those who have been in spiritual captivity or in ignorance of truth. Then the last judgment will be executed with those who are of the church. Then they are to be brought to the church and will worship the Lord. Then their spiritual captivity will cease. They have been infested by evils and falsities, and there is no remedy. But those who have destroyed will be destroyed. There will be a remedy from the Lord, who will restore the church. They will be perfected in truths, and it will last. This will be done by the Lord when he will come, and he will be their God. He will execute judgment upon the wicked. Jeremiah chapter 31. Of the new church that will be established by the Lord, this is meant by Israel and Zion. The Lord will be their God. The loved one will receive the goods of the church. They are to be brought near. They will come and will understand truths. The redeemed will be guarded against falsities, and will receive things spiritual and celestial. They are as dead, but they will finally return. They will come out of ignorance of truth into the truths of heaven. They will understand them. They will be imbued with wisdom. They will have no falsity of evil. They will be conjoined with the Lord, and from that conjunction truths will be inscribed on their life. This will be established to eternity. They will have abundant and extended doctrine of life. Jeremiah chapter 32. Indignation that the Jewish church will be destroyed, yet the Lord's church will be preserved. Prayer that it may be preserved, but the former church will be destroyed. And it will be reproved because of its evils, which have also been with them from the beginning, although they had the word and doctrine from it. They have profaned holy things. When this has been done, a new church is to be instituted, which will be conjoined with the Lord, and will not be separated from him. They will have every good. They will then have everything of the church. Jeremiah chapter 33. A new church. It will be established when the former church has been destroyed. After its destruction, those are to be brought near who are to be led out of falsities, who will worship the Lord from an affection for truth and good, and who will be in truths of every kind after the former church has ceased to be. This will take place when the Lord comes, who will institute it. Then truth and good will not be wanting. The spiritual and the natural will be in agreement. Then there will be truths in all abundance. Unless spiritual and natural truth and good become concordant, there can be no church. Jeremiah chapter 34. The Jewish church will be destroyed, although its truth will be preserved. Those who are of the church will be free, but they have of themselves become slaves. They will be slaves to falsities because they have departed from conjunction with the Lord, and because of profanation of truth. Therefore they will die the death of profaners. Jeremiah chapter 35. Those who are of the Lord's celestial church are represented by the children of Jonadab, who sow seed, who were to drink no wine, nor build a house, nor sow seed, nor plant vineyards, which signifies to learn truths and retain them in the memory, which belongs to the spiritual church, but that they should dwell in tents, which signifies to receive in the life and obey. From this they will have the celestial church. The Jewish church does not receive nor obey, although they are taught continually. Therefore they will perish. But those who obey will be in the celestial church. Jeremiah chapter 36. The destruction of the Jewish church and nation is foretold, and it is impressed upon them that they should repent. They might know it to be true. It was foretold by the Lord. They rejected it by profaning it. Likewise the word, the divine truth, will not perish, because they have made themselves obstinate. The destruction of the church and of the kingdom is imminent. Jeremiah chapter 37. Those who remained of the devastated church profaned the holy truths of the church by reasonings from knowledges. Those who remained did not live according to the truths of doctrine from the word. They had regard to doctrinals. They consulted knowledges. It is foretold that they will be destroyed by reasonings from knowledges. Thus doctrine was repudiated and falsified. Truths were perverted, but not goods with the truths, until there was a lack of goods. Jeremiah chapter 38. Those who have not yet been vastated will be vastated. They made themselves still more obstinate by perverting doctrine from the word and defiling it. The remnants that were not utterly falsified were nevertheless tainted with falsities. If they pervert them still farther, they will perish. Otherwise, if those remnants are not so perverted, they will not perish. It is foreseen that all things of the church will be perverted. This was hidden from them. Jeremiah chapter 39. By reasonings from falsities, the remnants of doctrine will perish. They have been wholly falsified even until there is no truth in them. The simple understanding of the word had not yet been devastated, because they were not in reasonings from falsities, but only in externals of doctrine. The remnant of doctrine will be falsified, but not yet. Jeremiah chapter 40. The simple understanding of the word according to doctrine will still remain. Besides the simple understanding, reasonings from falsities have been tolerated, which were commingled. They began to be imbued with falsities of faith. Jeremiah chapter 41. Further falsification of truth, and abolition of worship from this, with some exception, by means of falsities of faith, and by means of falsification of truth. But there were still remains, some of which were perverted by knowledges of the natural man. Chapter 42. The remains, or those left, consulted doctrine, but they were told that if they would continue simply in their external worship, and would not consult knowledges of the natural man, they would be saved. If they should consult them, all truth and good of worship would perish. Chapter 43. But this was not done. They consulted the knowledges of the natural man. Thus they will perish by reasonings from these, and the knowledges themselves would be perverted by adapting them to falsities. Chapter 44. Much of the church perished by departure from the Lord and by falsities of every kind. Now nearly all things left perish by means of knowledges of the natural man, nor do they refrain from fear of destruction, because they consult knowledges, and thus there is scarcely any residue. They make themselves obstinate, and love things that have been falsified by knowledges. Their destruction in consequence of this foretold, even until nothing of the church was left, except a few things. True knowledges are perverted by reasonings therefrom. Jeremiah chapter 45. Prediction that the whole church will be destroyed. Chapter 46. The natural of man will perish by reasonings from knowledges. All such knowledges are no longer of any avail, because they have been destroyed by means of reasonings. Pride in these will be lowered, and they will become falsities. They cannot be healed, because the church has been destroyed by means of these falsities. The whole natural perishes, nor is there anything there but falsity and evil. All its learning which confirms falsities will perish. The like will happen to others who trust in knowledges. It is otherwise with those who are in spiritual captivity, who will constitute the church. Jeremiah chapter 47. All who are in faith alone, so-called, will lapse into mere falsities until they have no knowledges of truth and good, and they will perish on the day of judgment. Chapter 48. Of those who adulterate the goods of the word and of the church, who are meant by Moab. The destruction of all things with those who adulterate the goods of the church and of the word. All truths have been destroyed thereby. It has not been devastated for a long time, and therefore the evil is worse. Nevertheless, they will perish with their falsities. There will be devastation of all things of truth with them. They are against the church because against truths. Its pride, grief on account of all of this, because there is nothing but evil, because there is no longer any good or truth of the word. Every remnant of truth and good, which is untouched, is adulterated at the same time. Those who have not adulterated will be amended. Chapter 49. Of those who falsify the truths of the word and of the church, who are meant by the children of Ammon. They falsify truths. Truths and goods with them will be destroyed. Mourning over this. They will be dispersed. Those who have not falsified truths will be accepted. Of those who have falsified the external of the word, who are meant by Edom. They will be destroyed by things falsified. Nothing of truth remains. Their total destruction. The last judgment is executed upon them, and they are cast down into hell. Of those who pervert the knowledges of truth, who are meant by Damascus. The doctrine of truth has been destroyed thereby. They will perish. Of those who pervert the knowledges of good, who are meant by Arabia. They have destroyed the knowledges of good and truth by reasonings. Their destruction. Of the falsification of doctrine which is meant by Elam. The falsities of their doctrine will be dispersed. They will perish, except those who have not falsified. Chapter 50. Of those who have adulterated and falsified the goods and truths of the church, who are meant by Babylon and Chaldea. they will no longer have any good or truth. Then those who are in ignorance of good and truth, because of a lack of them, will be brought to the Lord. They will depart from Babylon. Babylon will perish, because they have vastated the church. It is without any truth. Their destruction at the time of judgment, because she has destroyed the church. After Babylon has been destroyed, a new church will be established, which will be acceptable to the Lord. Babylon will be destroyed because she is against the Lord. They are to be wholly destroyed on account of the love of ruling, because they do not refrain from destroying the church which the Lord establishes and redeems. All things appertaining to them from firsts to lasts have been destroyed by means of falsities. They have horrible falsities and evils, the last judgment upon them. Chapter 51. Of those who by traditions or reasonings from the natural man have perverted the truths and goods of the church, who are here meant by Babylon. All truths of doctrine with them will be destroyed. The Jewish church is such, and is against the Lord. Let them beware of such. Those who are there are vastated by such things, and they do not refrain. They pervert truths and goods, which they have in abundance. They have the word, so that they can be wise, but they falsify it. When the judgment overtakes them from the Lord, all things appertaining to them, from firsts to lasts, are to be scattered. Their destruction will come because they have destroyed everything of the church. They will seize upon falsities of every kind. Hence they will no longer have any power. Her last time is coming. They will perish because they have destroyed the church. They will be destroyed by mere falsities. Let them not come near those who are of the church, lest they perish together with them. They cannot resist, however much they trust in themselves. Those who trust in their own falsities will come to nothing, and will be destroyed. This is told to those who in the church have been taken captive by such, and who have become Babylon. They are to be cast into hell. Jeremiah chapter 52. After the Jewish church has been wholly devastated in respect to all truths and goods by traditions, or by reasonings from falsities, the church is destroyed until nothing of it is left remaining. The destruction of all things of the church in general and in particular is described. They can no longer be taught from the word. Their quality, beginning of the establishment of the church.